Close your eyes. Think of the taste of warm bread fresh from the oven. That buttery scent, the steam, the soft crust giving way beneath your fingers. Maybe you see a table from your childhood. Maybe you hear laughter. Maybe you feel a kind of warmth that has nothing to do with temperature. That's not imagination. That's your brain lighting up like fireworks. Food, for us, isn't just nourishment. It's memory, it's emotion, it's story. And in the quiet theater of the mind, every meal we've ever loved still plays somewhere on repeat. Your brain remembers food differently than it remembers anything else. When you eat, you don't just taste, you record. Each bite becomes a sensory signature: smell, texture, sound, sight, emotion, all woven together into one vivid pattern. Later, one spark of scent, one photograph, one passing flavor can pull that memory back with startling clarity. That's why one spoon of soup can take you back 20 years. It's why comfort food exists. Because deep inside your brain's wiring, food and feeling are next-door neighbors. The story begins in the hippocampus, the part of your brain that writes new memories. But when food is involved, it rarely works alone. The amygdala, your emotional archive, joins in. Smell something delicious, and your amygdala marks the moment: pleasure, comfort, belonging. Over time, your brain weaves these experiences into a web of associations. It learns that this flavor equals safety, this aroma equals love, this dish equals celebration. And once written, those connections are powerful. They're why we reach for certain foods when we're sad, or why holidays taste the same year after year, because the brain remembers emotion in flavor. Taste itself is only part of the experience. The real storyteller is smell. Nearly 80% of what we call taste is olfactory memory. Each scent molecule travels straight to the limbic system, the brain's emotional core, without needing translation. No other sense does that. You can see a photo and feel nostalgia, but one whiff of cinnamon can transport you. That's why kitchens are sanctuaries. They don't just feed hunger, they trigger remembrance. But there's something even more profound happening beneath the surface. Every meal you eat shapes not only your memory of food, but your relationship to comfort, reward, and even identity. When you were a child and scraped a knee, maybe someone handed you ice cream to stop the tears. In that moment, your brain paired sweetness with safety. Decades later, when stress hits, that neural pathway still whispers, "Sugar means comfort." It's not weakness, it's wiring. Your brain learned that food can mend pain faster than time. This pairing of nourishment and emotion is ancient. Long before we had language, sharing food meant survival. Our ancestors sat by firelight, dividing meat and grain, bonding through flavor and ritual. The brain evolved to link food with connection, with tribe, with trust, with life itself. So when you crave your mother's soup or your grandmother's bread, you're not craving calories. You're craving belonging. You're remembering warmth in the shape of taste. Modern life, though, has changed the rhythm of this relationship. We eat fast, distracted, on screens, in cars. The brain still records, but what it records is noise, multitasking, stress, numbness. We remember not the meal, but the scrolling. And slowly, food loses its emotional depth. We keep eating, but the satisfaction never lands. Because the brain doesn't just need flavor, it needs presence to form memory. Without awareness, every bite dissolves into forgetfulness. Imagine sitting with a meal, really sitting, looking at the colors, inhaling the aroma before the first bite, feeling gratitude for the effort that brought it here. In that moment, your brain begins building a richer record. It links the meal not only with taste, but with calm, focus, gratitude. Over time, this mindful imprint rewires your emotional connection to food. You begin to crave balance instead of excess, nourishment instead of distraction. Your meals become memory medicine. Scientists call this episodic memory of eating. It's the reason we remember the first bite of wedding cake or the last dinner with someone we miss. But it also influences how much we eat tomorrow. When people remember their last meal vividly, they naturally eat less later. The brain signals satisfaction more efficiently. Memory literally regulates appetite. When eating becomes mindful, the brain needs less food to feel fulfilled. And then there's dopamine, the brain's storyteller of reward. Every time you eat something pleasurable, dopamine writes a line in the book of your habits. The stronger the emotion tied to that food, the bolder the ink. That's how comfort foods become coded, not through logic, but repetition. You reward yourself with pizza after a hard day, and your brain nods. Got it. Stress equals pizza. The more you repeat the script, the deeper the groove. But here's the hopeful part. The brain can edit. With new emotional pairings, new rituals, new awareness, you can rewrite how memory and appetite dance together. Try this. Next time you reach for food when you're not hungry, pause. Ask, what am I really seeking? Taste or tenderness? If it's tenderness, give that to yourself first. Sometimes all your brain wants is safety, and food is the only language it learned to ask in. Teaching it new words, like rest, breath, connection, takes time, but it's possible. Neuroplasticity is the body's way of forgiving old habits. Every culture uses food as storytelling. In Japan, there's omotenashi, serving with selfless care. In Italy, the family table is sacred theater. In Africa, to eat together is to share spirit. These traditions exist because humans have always known that feeding the body without feeding the heart leaves us empty. When we eat in community, when we cook with memory, when we taste with gratitude, the brain releases oxytocin, the same hormone of trust that flows through love. Food literally strengthens emotional bonds. Think about that the next time you cook for someone. The act of preparing food is a form of emotional imprinting. The smells you create become part of their sensory map of comfort. The taste of your recipe becomes a doorway they can walk through years later to find home again. You're not just feeding a person, you're building their memory. The power of this memory can heal, but it can also hurt. Traumatic eating experiences, shame at the table, diets enforced with guilt, scarcity in childhood, can twist the brain's associations with food. You might eat not for joy, but for punishment, for control, for protection. Healing that requires gentleness, not restriction. It means letting yourself form new positive associations. Safety with nourishment, forgiveness with fullness. Each mindful meal is a chance to overwrite pain with peace. So much of health isn't about what we eat, but how we remember what we eat. When meals are rushed, chaotic, or filled with guilt, the brain stores that chaos. When they're slow, sensory, and grateful, the brain stores calm. You are constantly teaching your nervous system what food means. You can choose to make it mean pressure or pleasure. That choice is power. Memory also explains why certain flavors move across generations. A mother who cooks curry passes not only spice but identity. A father who grills on Sundays passes not only smoke but belonging. The brain of a child doesn't separate taste from love. Later, when that grown child tastes something similar, they feel anchored, even if they can't explain why. Food is emotional DNA, coded in flavor. And perhaps that's the quiet miracle of being human, that something as ordinary as breakfast can carry centuries of memory. The coffee beans from another continent, the bread recipe from an ancestor, the salt harvested from oceans that existed before us. Every bite connects past to present. Your brain recognizes that thread even when you don't. That's why comfort feels ancient. You're not just remembering your meals, you're remembering your lineage. The emotional power of food is also why it can change how we perceive time. A shared meal can stretch minutes into hours. A single bite can replay years in an instant. The taste of mango might bring back a summer romance. The smell of cloves might summon your grandmother's kitchen. Neuroscience can map the brain pathways, but poetry explains it better. Flavor is memory made edible. So, what do we do with this knowledge? We slow down. We make eating sacred again. We reclaim meals from multitasking. Because every time you eat consciously, you strengthen the bond between nourishment and awareness. You train your brain to see food not as a transaction, but as a conversation. That's how emotional eating evolves into intuitive eating, when food stops being escape and starts being expression. The next time you sit down to eat, notice the first scent that rises. Let it paint a memory. Notice your first bite, how it feels, how it sounds. That's your brain recording a moment of presence. Make it a good one. The more love you bring to the table, the more your brain learns that food is not stress, not guilt, not control, but care. Some memories are built through taste, and some tastes are built through memory. You can't separate them, and maybe you shouldn't. Maybe that's what makes food such a profound part of being human. It's how we keep the past alive inside the body. It's how we translate emotion into nourishment. Every bite is both history and hope. When you cook next, do it with reverence. Light a candle, play music, smell your ingredients. Let your senses slow the world down, because that's what memory loves. Slowness, depth, attention. Feed your brain experiences worth remembering. And remember that your favorite meals were never just about food. They were about people, about moments that mattered, about love that lingered. Your brain remembers food because food once meant survival, and now it means story. Every dish you create adds a chapter. Make it a story of peace, not pressure, of gratitude, not guilt, of awareness, not autopilot. And when you live that story, your body listens, digestion improves, stress fades, energy flows, the biology of joy unfolds in real time. So tonight, as you taste whatever sits before you, know that you're not just eating, you're remembering. You're teaching your future self what comfort feels like. You're giving your nervous system evidence that life can still be gentle. Eat slowly, feel deeply, let the meal become a memory worth keeping. Keep savoring, keep remembering, and keep feeding your life with presence. This is Vital Dynasty,